Welcome to the MS Gym podcast. I'm your host, Jody Feltham, and it's about to get real as we listen to the victories and struggles of our own MS Gym members. So let's dive in. Hello, MS Gym family. So glad you're joining me for another podcast episode. Today, we travel overseas to visit Julie Wake and learn more about her story. So, Julie, so glad you could join me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So, Julie, I said that you're overseas, obviously from Canada, America, but whereabouts are you located?
Well, I'm in the UK. I'm in the northeast of England. It's about probably 250 miles from London.
So, Julie, how did MS kind of show up in your life?
It's quite a long story. I think it is for most people, I think. I fell down the stairs and broke my leg in 2006. Didn't recover terribly well, although they kept telling me that the break had mended and everything. And I thought, well, I'm not walking terribly well. But I continued, on my path and just kept going and kept trying to have physio and that sort of thing. It wasn't until, I waited quite a long time. It wasn't until 2018 that I was at a chiropractor, and he asked me to walk, and he said, you look as though you've got foot drop. And he said, I think you should go and see a neurologist, get your GP to refer you to a neurologist and let them have a look at you. And which is what I did. And I was diagnosed then, but it had been at least 12 years, probably longer than that, actually. And when I actually spoke to the neurologist, I said to her, I thought this was connected to me breaking my leg. And she said, no, she says, I think it's probably the other way around. I think you probably fell down the stairs because you tripped, because you weren't carrying yourself properly. We don't know that, but that's what she said. She says, no, it's nothing to do with you breaking your leg. So yeah, it was 2018 when I got my diagnosis, which was pretty mind-boggling and felt like the end of my life. As I think most people do feel that, don't they? Most people think that. But that's when it was. I suppose 4 years ago now. 4 years ago. I mean, I was quite, I'm 61, so I was 57 when I got my diagnosis, but I'd obviously had it for quite a long time before that. Quite late onset thing, really,
So your diagnosis was kind of atypical, obviously. Like you said, it was kind of a bit later, like many people are diagnosed around 30. But the curious part about your story is, you talk about this leg break in 2006, and then it's 12 years later, 2018, when you're actually diagnosed. There was 12 years is such a large span of time. So obviously
it is, yes.
You coped well, like the fact that it wasn't until the chiropractor said something about your gait and the way you walked. For those 12 years, your mobility must have been
I was okay. I felt, again, I did keep tripping up and falling down. I used to take the dog out for a walk, and I was constantly tripping over stones and twigs and branches and things like that. And I've always been quite a clumsy person, so I thought I'm just more clumsy, and I'm just not holding myself properly and all this sort of thing. I used to fall down all the time, and I used to get very, very angry with myself for falling down all the time. And then it was then that I discovered that it was because of my foot drop that I was tripping.
Was that ever on, like, obviously this diagnosis was something you weren't expecting. It was something kind of foreign to you, but MS is actually fairly common in the UK.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, I do know about it. I remember reading about it or seeing something on the television about somebody, I can't remember who it was now, somebody famous who was diagnosed with MS, and people had thought that he was drunk because his speech was slurring and this sort of thing and everything. So I knew about it, and I knew a little bit about it. And I think when occasionally one or two people looked at me for MS. It's something like physios and people like that. And I remember saying to them, "You think I've got MS? I haven't got MS. Because I've got no problems with my upper body, my arms, my neck, my head. Not I've got no problems with that. It's just my legs. So it's got to be something to do with my breaking my leg and falling down and this sort of thing." But I didn't realize that it can be so. I didn't realize then that it can be so very variable. That everybody's different. Everybody has different circumstances, different symptoms. When I was diagnosed, I felt like a death sentence. It felt like it was a real. It was like, that's the end of my life. Because I thought everybody ends up in a wheelchair. Everybody probably dies early or this sort of thing. And now I realize now that that's not the case at all, that everybody is different and everybody has different symptoms.
It's very true. They always say that, MS is a snowflake disease because everyone's MS is so different, and
Everybody's different. Yeah.
everyone has different symptoms, and everyone responds to different things and different stimulus and different medications and different diets. And so, it can be so hard to pinpoint it. Sometimes it feels like, sometimes it can be like the blanket diagnosis. Like it starts, someone may have some sort of health issues and it starts off, oh, maybe you have MS, and maybe it will be MS or maybe it'll be something else, but it's
something else. Yeah.
It's so common in Canada. We're like the number one for population in the world. I know UK is right up there too.
It's by far the most common in countries where it's cold and you don't get any sun and this sort of thing, isn't it? Yes. So the Northern America, Northern Europe, you hardly ever hear of it in Africa and Asia. Most of Asia, and sort of it does tend to be places where you don't get any sunshine and everything.
It's so interestingly, because they don't know the exact cause of MS, but it was interesting when I was actually living in India when I started having my first MS symptoms, which is bizarre because MS wasn't a big thing in India because, again, sunshine all the time. But now it's becoming more and more common. And so it's interesting to think about, the different causes, and maybe it's not just one root cause, maybe there's many causes.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's not.
Why it's becoming worldwide now, not just, the no sunshine places. Now, I wanted to go back to a statement you made. You referenced it one or two times. And I think it's echoed by so many of us when we're diagnosed. It feels like a death sentence. And for myself, I really did feel I was 30 and I felt like basically I was going to be alone for life, that no one would accept me and this diagnosis. And so I think the words you said, it felt like a death sentence, are something that will really resonate with the listeners of this, because I know we've all felt that in our own heart.
Yes, it definitely felt like my life was over. Yes, it really did. Yeah.
And it's so hard. And the whole thing is, you were saying about everyone's disease is so different. And, some people, the way that it progresses, they do end up in a wheelchair, or they end up in assisted living. Or for other people, MS is just a small blip on the radar of their life, right? It might just be a diagnosis, and yet it doesn't hinder many things in life.
Doesn't really affect them very much.
Yeah.
No.
Then there's other people that have pretty progressive MS that, that are limited, and yet they've learned to work with, what their body will allow them to do. And they've actually led very healthy and productive lives, even the obstacle of MS. I think one of the main benefits of the MS gym, obviously the exercise, but also the community we have, knowing that we're not alone, because that diagnosis is scary and it's ugly, and it's compounded when we're alone in the struggle and the journey, and
oh yes, absolutely,
anyone that understands what we're going through. So how did you end up getting connected with the MS gym?
I'm a member of another group of MS people. I follow a diet and a program. It's called Overcoming MS, which is quite a well-known thing. And I've got it's to do with diet and meditation and this sort of thing. And I met a couple of people through that, And one lady I spoke to, and she said, I found this thing called the MS. I said, well, yes, I've seen that, but I don't really know what to do. And she said to me, she said, well, what you need to do is you need to have a look at the actual program itself, because you can start at the beginning and then work your way through it and see what suits you and what doesn't suit you. So that was when I joined the program. And about 18 months ago, something like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that one of your friends or your acquaintances online
Uh-huh,
guided
uh-huh.
you to the MS
Well,
gym.
I mean, she does the MS gym as well. So, the two of us, we sort of swap stories.
So you said you were diagnosed kind of later in your like your late
Mhm.
50s. What kind
Yeah.
of work did you used to do?
What kind of work did I used to
Like
do?
a career? Were
A
you
career.
homemaker?
Well, I was an accountant. I had worked full time for quite a few years. Went part time when my kids were a little bit older, and after about 2014, 15, started working from home. I was working 3 days a week from home. So yeah, it didn't stop me doing my work. The problems I was having didn't stop me doing my work. Although sitting in a chair typing on a computer is probably not a good idea for, to be doing that all day. But yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're now happily retired then.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sort of jumped at retirement when I got my diagnosis. I think that was part of my reaction to it. I'm quite happy to be retired.
Okay. Now, in the members only corner in the MLC, what a Facebook group we have for paid members, Julie is actually a very active participant, and she loves to post about
Right?
about no in a good way. We get to know a bit more about you, about your different walks and your different places that
Hmm.
you travel. And I have
Hmm.
to say, probably one of your greatest motivations, I think, is your grandson.
My
Because
grandson.
you
Yeah.
love posting
Yeah.
pictures. He is so cute. And I think he
He
probably
is.
motivates you to keep moving. And I know he keeps you busy too, right? You babysit, every week for him.
We look after him 1 day a week.
How old is he now?
He's just over a year. He's just
Okay.
over a year old. So it's actually quite difficult. I find it quite difficult. My husband obviously is much fitter and more active than I am, and he loves to take him out for a walk. But because I can't take him out for a walk, because I can't, push his buggy or walk with him. I find that very frustrating and
Mm.
really a little bit. I find it difficult, very difficult. But I can play with him. I play with him on the floor and this sort of thing, and we still have fun. But I find that tiring as well. It's still great. I'd love to be able to do more with him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating when the things you think you should be able to do that you want to do seem like a
Hmm.
challenge to you. And I
Hmm.
hope that, on those rough days, when you're not motivated to exercise, I hope that, that kind of sparks some motivation in you. Like, and I know you said he's only just over a year, but I think in time as he matures and grows up, he'll see the gifts that you gave him with your time and your energy. He'll be able to
Hmm.
see, that grandma did all this for me,
Hmm.
and be proud of you, and feel special himself that
Well,
you
yeah,
spent
I
that
hope
time
so.
with him, I'm
I
sure.
hope so. I hope so. Yeah. It's
Now,
he does love to sit in my wheelchair. Sometimes I sit in the wheelchair. I don't use the wheelchair all the time, but I use the wheelchair sometimes when we go out for a walk, and he'll sit on my knee in the wheelchair, and he's all strapped in and everything, and he really enjoys that.
no, that's good. Now, I mentioned about some of your posting, and I've seen kind of the evolution of your mindset kind of happening, obviously the frustration when you can't move the way you want to, or maybe
Mhm,
walk the distance that
mhm,
you want to walk. But I've seen, this evolution of your posts, and how you've come to a place like you say, okay, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to use my trekking poles as long as I can. And then you sometimes you get discouraged because you couldn't do as long. And
Mhm,
then you grew to a place where you said, okay, well, I'm going to go for a walk. My husband's going to bring the wheelchair, so if I need it, so I
mhm.
can do my walk, I can rest if I need to, and if I have more energy, then I can walk again. And it's just it's obviously at 60 years old you're mature, but it's an interesting place in kind of your acceptance of your diagnosis and your current limitations, just to to be honest where you are and be in the present. Say, okay, well, this wheelchair is kind of the backup, but these are the things that I want to do, and I'm using this wheelchair as an aid, not as a crutch. And coming to
Yes.
that
Oh,
place where
yes,
you
definitely. Yes.
coming to that place where you accept that and you see it as a tool and not a burden. I think that's a really important place to come in the diagnosis and in your journey, is to accept where you are in that moment and what help you need, without, so many of us, when we can't do the things we want, we just say, well, forget it, and we don't do anything. But you
And
know
it all sounds very sensible when you say it, and I know it's true. And my husband was the one who persuaded me to get a wheelchair. And he said it's going to be great because we're going to be able to do anything we want.
mm,
And that didn't, but at the time, it didn't feel like that was. It felt like I was giving in. It
mm,
felt like I was, it was a step backwards. Now I recognize that yes, he was perfectly right, and you're perfectly right as well. That yes, I can now do far more things than I used to be able to do, and I don't panic and struggle and worry that I won't be able to walk up the road or up a hill, a little hill or something, because I know I've now got the wheelchair, and Derek can help me. I can get in the wheelchair and he can push me. And it's empowering rather than um, something that's it's a step backwards.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of like, we talk, the whole saying hindsight's 2020, and you look back,
Mhm,
like even about your diagnosis and you're breaking your leg and all these falls, like looking back, you can see all these things, all the dots kind of connect. And
mhm.
and this whole thing about using mobility aids to bring about more freedom, which seems kind of the opposite. But I think it's kind of an individual thing that we all need to come to that place of acceptance, right?
Yeah, in our own way, I
in
think.
in
Yeah.
our own way, right? Because your
Mhm,
husband saw it that way, and I know too. Like my parents, when I use the wheelchair or a scooter or something, my parents see it as I get to enjoy life with them and be part of it. But
mhm,
I can get stuck in my own mindset and say this is not what I refuse to use these things, and then I miss out on
mhm.
opportunities. So I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm glad that your husband journeyed through this with you, and he saw the benefits, and I'm glad that you've seen the benefits now too of using these
Oh,
things.
he's so clever. Everything he tells, everything he says to me, yeah, I think yes, that's very sensible. That's very clever, and and I'm not like that, and it takes me a while to bring myself around to it. But he's always right. He's always right. It's such a you know terrible thing, but he's always right.
Funny. That's funny. So 18 months in the MS gym, we've seen lots of, positive posts for you about, your walking, some of your walking victories, and some of your recent travels around, around the UK, and you being able to walk further than you thought you would be able to. What
Mhm.
would you say kind of has been your biggest victory, whether physically or mentally or emotionally, since you joined the MS gym? What are you most proud of?
um, well, certainly, I was. We went on holiday on vacation in February to Norway to see the Northern Lights. We didn't actually see the Northern Lights, but we went on a boat, and I was really, really scared of going. I was very, very worried, anxious about it, thinking I'm not gonna be able to walk very far. It's going to be snowy, it's going to be icy. I'm gonna really struggle, and even within the wheelchair, Derek's not going to be able to push me anywhere because there's lots of snow, and I was really nervous about it. but it was the most fantastic holiday I had, and it really felt like that was a victory, because I did stride out, and I did manage to walk a little bit, and I did manage to see all kinds of things that I probably wouldn't have thought I could see. And I think it was very much a victory in my mindset as well. It made me feel so much better coming back. Coming home, I felt so much better for having done that. And I mean, that definitely felt like a victory to me. I mean, it wasn't specifically to do with the MS gym, but I think as except it was the mindset that I'd got from the MS gym, from Trevor, and from various other people as well, that made me feel like I could do it. I really didn't want to do it. I was very scared, but yeah, my mindset's definitely changed, and I think that's made a huge difference. I mean, I've had a few, small victories with my walking and this sort of thing, but certainly changing my mindset, I think, is the main thing so far. Anyway,
No, that's fantastic. And I think so much, obviously, we want our bodies to move the way we want them to move, but our mindset
Mhm,
gives us perspective on the bigger picture of everything. And, our
mhm,
mindset about our diagnosis and, our potential current struggles and things like that. But our mindset really dictates what our body does too. If our mindset's in the
mhm,
gutter, it doesn't matter that, our legs should pick up or whatever, but our bodies might not do it at all because our mindset tells us that we can't. So I think that trip sounds so fantastic, and that you created
oh, it's great. Yeah.
a
Mhm,
lot of memories. And like
mhm,
you said, you saw a lot of things that you probably wouldn't have been ever able to see had you not, put yourself in that position of
mhm.
being willing to kind of go with the flow and just live in the moment of that time.
I just know that the next time we decide to go on holiday, to go somewhere on vacation, I will think back to that time and try not to get too anxious about. I probably will still get anxious, but I'll try to sort of look on the positive side and that sort of thing. So I think it has made a huge difference. Mindset, as we say.
That's good. And it's good that you have this positive experience to build on. So it's like you said,
Mhm,
next time you travel,
mhm,
you'll be able to reflect back and, kind of ground yourself and see all the things that you were able to do.
mhm,
And that, obviously the concern and the worry is there, but you'll be able to see the things that you did overcome in it.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
so what do you do on kind of those hard days? And obviously we all have differing MS can be so different, moment to moment, but day by day. What do you tell yourself on those really hard days when your body is just not joining with you at all?
Um, well, I tend to get very frustrated and very angry with myself, and then I have to tell myself that. And again, my husband again tells me, he said, you were really great yesterday. You might be really great tomorrow. Um, you have these bad days, and we just have to get through it, and this sort of thing. And so yes, I meditate a lot. I do a lot of mindfulness, which helps me as well. Um, because it sort of effectively takes me out of myself,
Mm.
sort of thing. It stops me, because you worry so much about things, or you focus on certain problems that you've got. Why can't I pick my foot up today? Do I keep falling down all the time and everything? And meditation, I think, helps an awful lot with that. um you just, because you do get very obsessed with these things. Well, I do anyway. um yeah, I suppose I just have to think, well, tomorrow's another day.
It sounds like you've learned different tools that work really well in your life. Like you said, one of the tools of mindfulness and meditation, it sounds like you use
Hmm.
that to really help you move from kind of
Hmm.
a place of not wanting to move and kind of sadness or despair to a place of seeing kind of the bigger picture of your story in your life. So
Mhm.
I think we all need to find, different tools, and for each person those tools will look different, but I'm glad that you have something in your life that helps you. And it's wonderful, to hear about the support of your husband. It really sounds like he helps ground you in things and that he's a part of your journey with you.
Oh, he really does. Yeah. Oh, it would be much more of a struggle
Mm,
without him. Yeah, definitely.
that's wonderful.
Definitely.
So what are your goals and aspirations like for the future, for whether it's like a short-term goal or a long-term goal? Like what gets you going on those tough days saying, "Oh man, I would love to be able to do this."
Um, Most of it surrounds what I can and what I can't do with my grandson. I would love to be able to go out for a walk with him and push him in his buggy, his what do you got, a stroller? Sorry, yes, it is, and push him myself rather than having to be pushed in the wheelchair. I'd love to be able to do that, and I'd love to be able to. I'd really would love to be able to carry him about the house, and I can't do that because I don't feel secure enough. And that really is the only thing that I want to be able to do. I want to be able to walk better so that I can take my grandson out and do various things with him, push him in a swing, or take him on a slide so that he can go down the slide, and this sort of thing. I mean, I know the whole thing. It's all the same, but I mean, I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to walk better than I can now. I can walk, but I want to be able to walk better than I can now, and that's really only the main thing that I want to do. This is it. That's it, really.
So,
Okay.
Julie, I love the goals that you have, and they have such deep meaning, obviously, for you. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when your grandson gets older, they'll have a lot of deep meaning for him as well, knowing that,
Well, I think
you
so. I
you
hope so.
you press play on your exercise every day and you strive to get stronger so you can engage more with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have to say though, like, how you were talking about, your grandson, he loves sitting on your lap, when you get pushed in the wheelchair, like
Mm-hmm.
your grandma or your nana, whatever term in the UK you go by, but is it a
I'm Nana.
child? Pardon?
I'm Nana. I'm Nana Julie. That's what I am.
Nana. It's interesting. Children don't necessarily, when they're young, they don't see, we're so blinded sometimes by our accessibility aids. Children don't see things like that.
No,
Like, they
no,
just
they don't.
see,
No, they
they
don't.
just, they see love and they see support and they see quality time, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously as he gets older, I think looking back, he'll be able to see all the effort you made, all the intention you had to engage with him in whatever way that you could. So I wish you all the best in those goals. And I always
Thank
say to
you.
my podcast guests that I love, I look forward to seeing, victory stories of them achieving, the things that they want to achieve or working
Mm-hmm.
towards it. And so I know myself and now all the members of the MOC will be looking forward to seeing you with a picture, even if it's just for a few steps, you pushing that trolley with your grandson in it. So
Mm-hmm.
Julie, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time and sharing more about your journey and your story with MS. And like I said, I look forward to seeing your posts in the MOC. I hope I didn't embarrass you. We're always
No,
glad to see your posts
it's
and
fine.
and your
It's fine.
your walking past and your travel journeys, and obviously your beautiful grandson as well. So
Thank
thank
you.
you again, Julie.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want to give a voice to your own story or learn more about the MS Gym? You can check us out at themsgym.com.